There are seasons in life when it feels like heaven is silent, seasons when your prayers seem to rise, but the answers do not fall. Moments when you are doing everything right, yet nothing seems to be moving. You wake up with hope, but by nightfall you are wrestling with doubt. You wonder if God heard you. You wonder if God forgot you. You wonder if the promise you believed in was ever real at all. But there is something powerful you must understand about God. Just because he is silent does not mean he is absent. Many people believe faith is only required when God is moving quickly. But the real test of faith is not in the miracle, it is in the waiting. Anybody can praise God when the doors are opening and the blessings are flowing. Anybody can shout when the breakthrough arrives. But can you trust him when nothing is changing? Can you believe when the clock keeps ticking and the answer still hasn't come? Waiting is one of the hardest places to live in. Waiting stretches your patience. Waiting tests your heart. Waiting exposes your fears. In the waiting, you begin to question everything. Your plans, your timing, even your faith. But what if the waiting season is not punishment? What if it is preparation? You see, God never wastes a season. When it looks like nothing is happening, something is happening that you cannot see. Roots are growing beneath the surface before the tree ever breaks through the ground. Strength is being built inside you before the victory shows up outside of you. The truth is, if God gave us everything the moment we asked for it, we might receive the blessing, but not have the character to carry it. Waiting develops you. Waiting matures you. Waiting teaches you to depend on God instead of your own understanding. Sometimes we want God to change our situation, but God is trying to change us. You pray for a door to open, but God is building the person who will walk through that door. You pray for a platform, but God is shaping the heart that will stand on it without pride destroying it. You pray for increase, but God is strengthening the foundation so that when the blessing comes, it will not collapse under its own weight. That is the mystery of waiting. Waiting feels like delay, but in God's hands, waiting is development. Think about the moments in life where you felt forgotten, the job you prayed for but didn't get, the relationship you hoped would work but didn't, the opportunity that slipped through your hands. In those moments, it felt like loss. It felt like defeat. It felt like God had closed the door on your future. But time has a way of revealing what emotions cannot understand. Sometimes the closed door was protection. Sometimes the delay was mercy. Sometimes the silence was God keeping you from something that would have broken you instead of blessing you. When you trust God in the waiting, you are declaring something powerful. You are saying, God, I may not understand your timing, but I trust your wisdom. I may not see the path, but I trust the one who leads it. That kind of faith shakes heaven, because trusting God when everything is clear is easy, but trusting him when everything is uncertain, that is real faith. There will be days when the waiting makes you tired, days when you feel like giving up, days when the enemy whispers that nothing will ever change. But in those moments, you must remind yourself of a powerful truth. God is never late. He may not move according to your schedule, but he always moves according to his purpose. And when God moves, everything changes. The door that stayed closed for years can open in a single moment. The opportunity that seemed impossible can appear overnight. The breakthrough you prayed for can arrive suddenly and shift your entire life. What took years of waiting can be transformed by one moment of divine timing. But here is the key. If you quit during the waiting season, you might walk away right before the miracle. Too many people abandon their faith in the middle of the process. They get tired of waiting. They grow frustrated. They decide God must have forgotten them, and they walk away from the very promise that was forming just beyond the horizon. There are seasons in life when it feels like heaven has gone quiet. You pray with sincerity, you believe with all your heart. Yet the response you expect never seems to arrive. You wake up each day hoping something will shift, hoping the door will open, hoping the situation will change. But the hours pass, the days pass, sometimes even the years pass, and it feels like nothing is happening. In those moments, the silence can feel overwhelming. It can make you question whether your prayers were heard or whether your faith is strong enough. But silence from heaven does not mean absence from God. There are times when God works in ways that are not loud or immediate. His voice is not always thunder. Sometimes it is the quiet movement behind the scenes, arranging pieces that you cannot yet see. Just because you cannot hear him responding does not mean he has stopped listening. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean nothing is happening. Often, the quietest seasons are the ones where God is doing his deepest work. In that silence, he is strengthening your heart, deepening your faith, and shaping your perspective. What feels like emptiness is often the place where spiritual strength is quietly being formed. Silence can be uncomfortable because it forces you to rely on trust rather than evidence. When you cannot see results, your belief is tested. Yet those very moments can draw you closer to God than the moments when everything is easy. Silence teaches patience. Silence teaches humility. Silence teaches you that your faith cannot depend on constant reassurance. Instead, it must rest on the confidence that God is faithful even when his voice is quiet. When you learn to trust God in the silence, you develop a deeper relationship with him. Your faith becomes anchored in who he is rather than in what he does for you at a particular moment. The quiet seasons are not wasted time. They are sacred moments where your trust grows stronger and your understanding deepens. Even when heaven feels silent, God is still present, still watching, still working in ways you cannot yet comprehend. Life often presents delays that seem difficult to understand. You may pray for a breakthrough and expect it to arrive quickly, yet the answer appears far away. It can be frustrating when your plans do not unfold according to the timeline you imagined. You wonder why certain opportunities have not come, why certain prayers remain unanswered, why certain doors remain closed. But delays are not always obstacles. Sometimes they are carefully placed pauses designed for your protection and growth. God sees the full picture while you see only a small portion of the journey. What you call delay might actually be divine timing at work. A delay can prevent you from stepping into situations before you are ready. It can allow circumstances to align in ways that will ultimately benefit you. Many times people want immediate results, but immediate results are not always the best outcomes. A tree that grows too quickly may not develop strong roots. When storms arrive, that tree cannot stand. In the same way, a life that receives everything instantly may not develop the strength necessary to handle challenges. Delays give you time to grow. They allow your character to develop and your perspective to mature. During those periods, you may learn lessons that would be impossible to learn in a moment of quick success. You may gain wisdom through patience and resilience through persistence. Delays also teach you to surrender control. When everything happens exactly when you expect it, it is easy to believe you are the one directing the process. But when the timeline stretches beyond your expectations, you are reminded that God's plans are greater than your own. In those moments, you must decide whether you will trust his guidance or become consumed by frustration. Choosing trust does not mean the waiting becomes easy, but it does mean your heart remains open to the purpose behind the process. Over time, you begin to see that many of the delays that once discouraged you were actually blessings in disguise. They kept you from rushing into situations that were not meant for you. They positioned you for opportunities that would not have existed if everything had happened earlier. What once looked like a setback becomes evidence of careful preparation. The delay was never meant to harm you. It was meant to guide you toward something better than you initially imagined. Uncertainty can feel like standing in the middle of fog. You know there is a path somewhere ahead, but you cannot see where it leads. You take steps forward without clear direction, relying on faith rather than certainty. This experience can be uncomfortable because human nature prefers control and clarity. We want to know exactly what will happen and when it will happen. Yet faith grows strongest when certainty is removed. When every detail is visible, trust becomes easy. But when the future is hidden, belief becomes a choice you must make every day. In uncertain seasons, your faith is refined. Doubt may whisper that nothing will change, but faith encourages you to keep moving forward. It reminds you that the absence of visible progress does not mean the absence of purpose. Sometimes the fog exists not to confuse you, but to teach you how to depend on God rather than your own understanding. When the path is clear, you may rely on your own confidence. But when the path is hidden, you must rely on guidance from something greater than yourself. Faith becomes the light that leads you through the unknown. It teaches you to take the next step even when the destination is unclear. Each step builds courage. Each moment of trust strengthens your resilience. Over time, you begin to see that uncertainty is not always an enemy. It can be an invitation to grow deeper in your faith. It encourages humility and reminds you that you are not meant to carry every burden alone. As you move through uncertain seasons, you also learn patience. You discover that not every answer must arrive immediately. Some truths reveal themselves slowly through experience and reflection. In those moments, your character is shaped by the choices you make. You can allow uncertainty to create fear, or you can allow it to build faith. Choosing faith does not eliminate every question, but it gives you the strength to keep moving forward. Eventually, the fog begins to lift and the path becomes clearer. When that moment arrives, you realize that the journey through uncertainty has transformed you. You have grown stronger, wiser, and more confident in your trust. What once felt frightening becomes a reminder that even when you could not see the way ahead, God was still guiding your steps. Some of the most important work in life happens in places where no one else can see it. Preparation often takes place in quiet moments far from public recognition or visible success. During these hidden seasons, it may feel as though your efforts are unnoticed and your progress is slow. You continue to work, to learn, to grow, yet the results are not immediately visible to others. It can be discouraging to invest energy into something when the outcome appears distant. However, hidden seasons are essential for building the foundation that supports future success. Just as roots grow underground before a tree rises above the surface, personal growth often occurs in ways that are invisible at first. Those unseen roots determine the strength and stability of what will eventually become visible. Without them, the structure cannot stand. God often uses hidden seasons to prepare you for responsibilities you have not yet encountered. During these times, your character is refined and your perspective expands. You learn discipline through consistency and humility through perseverance. These qualities cannot be rushed. They develop gradually through experience and reflection. In hidden seasons, you may also discover talents or passions that you never recognized before. Because there is less pressure from outside expectations, You have space to explore and develop your abilities. These moments allow you to focus on growth rather than applause. Over time, the skills you cultivate quietly will become the tools that help you succeed when opportunities arise. Hidden preparation also strengthens your resilience. When success eventually appears, you will know it was built on dedication rather than luck. You will understand the effort required to reach that point, and you will value the journey that brought you there. What once seemed like an isolated period of waiting becomes the very reason you are ready for what comes next. When God prepares you in hidden seasons, He is not delaying your progress. He is ensuring that your foundation is strong enough to support the future He has planned for you. The quiet work you do today will eventually become the visible strength you carry tomorrow. There are moments when life seems completely unchanged despite your prayers and efforts. You continue to believe, yet the circumstances around you remain the same. It is in these moments that trust becomes most important. Anyone can believe when results appear quickly, but trusting God when nothing seems to move requires deeper faith. When days pass without visible progress, discouragement can creep into your thoughts. You may begin to wonder whether your efforts matter or whether your hope is misplaced. Yet those very moments are where perseverance is built. Trusting God during unchanging circumstances means holding on to hope even when the evidence is limited. It means believing that the story is not finished simply because the current chapter feels difficult. Life often moves in ways that are not immediately visible beneath the surface. Events may be aligning in ways that will eventually create change. Just because you cannot see those movements does not mean they are not happening. Trust requires patience and courage. It asks you to continue walking forward even when the road seems repetitive. It encourages you to remain faithful in small actions while waiting for larger breakthroughs. In these seasons, gratitude can become a powerful source of strength. Instead of focusing only on what has not changed, you can recognize quiet blessings that remain present in your life. Gratitude shifts your perspective and reminds you that even during challenging moments, there are reasons to remain hopeful. Trust also grows when you reflect on past experiences. When you look back, you may notice times when circumstances eventually improved, even though they once seemed impossible to change. Remembering those moments can renew your confidence that the present situation will not last forever. Change may not arrive according to your preferred schedule, but it will come when the time is right. By trusting God during periods when nothing seems different, you develop endurance that will carry you through future challenges. You learn that faith is not dependent on constant progress, but on the belief that progress is still possible even when cannot yet be seen. Timing plays a powerful role in every aspect of life. Opportunities, relationships, and achievements often depend not only on effort, but also on the right moment. Divine timing operates beyond human schedules, aligning events in ways that may not be immediately understood. People frequently want their goals to be fulfilled quickly, yet true transformation often occurs when the moment is right rather than when it is rushed. When God's timing unfolds, events begin to connect in ways that reveal purpose and direction. A door that remained closed for a long time may suddenly open. A possibility that once seemed distant may appear at exactly the right moment. This is the power of timing, guided by wisdom greater than our own. When you trust in divine timing, you release the pressure to force outcomes before they are ready. Instead of rushing toward results, you focus on preparing yourself for the opportunities that will eventually come. This perspective allows you to remain patient while continuing to grow. Divine timing often surprises people because it can transform years of waiting into a single moment of change. What seemed impossible suddenly becomes reality. The connections, resources, or circumstances needed for progress appear in ways that could not have been predicted earlier. When that moment arrives, you realize that every delay and every challenge played a role in preparing you for the opportunity. Without those experiences, you might not have recognized the value of what was being offered or understood how to use it effectively. Trusting divine timing also brings peace instead of constantly worrying about whether you are falling behind. You can focus on living with purpose in the present. Each day becomes an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to strengthen your faith. Eventually, when the right moment arrives, you will step into it with confidence because you know that your journey has prepared you for that exact point in time. The power of divine timing reminds you that your story is not defined by how quickly things happen, but by how perfectly they unfold when the moment is right. In the end, the waiting season is not meant to break you, it is meant to build you. It may feel long, confusing, and sometimes even painful, but every moment of waiting carries purpose. When you cannot see the progress, when you cannot hear the answers, and when nothing around you seems to change, that is often the very place where God is shaping your faith the most. The waiting teaches patience, strengthens your character, and prepares your heart for what is coming next. If every prayer were answered instantly, you might celebrate the blessing but miss the transformation. Yet when you walk through seasons of silence, delay, uncertainty, and hidden preparation, something powerful happens inside of you. Your faith grows deeper. Your trust becomes stronger. Your relationship with God becomes more real than ever before. You begin to understand that faith is not just believing when everything works out, it is believing even when nothing seems to move. So if you find yourself in a season of waiting today, do not lose heart. Do not let frustration steal your faith or convince you that your story is finished. The same God who gave you the promise is still working behind the scenes. Every delay has a purpose. Every quiet moment has meaning. Every step you take in faith is leading you closer to the moment when everything begins to make sense. One day, the door will open. One day, the breakthrough will come. One day, you will look back at the waiting season and realize it was never wasted time. It was preparation. It was protection. It was the process that shaped you into the person ready to receive what God had planned all along. Until that moment arrives, keep believing, keep praying, keep trusting. Because when you trust God in the waiting, you are not standing still. You are being prepared for something greater than you ever imagined.